Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala.
And Ray Alfala is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
Rickmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Rickmotech.com.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Season 3 finale of the Extreme Motorsports Rickmotech World Challenge presented by Performa Texas Elite Graphics right here on Apex Racing TV. Having embarked on an 8-round romp around North America's and the world's most challenging tarmac to shine the spotlight on some of the best LMP2 and GT3 drivers from around the world, we head south from last week's outpost, Daytona International Speedway, down US 27 to that former US Army airfield that's known for rattling loose every last nut and bolt of your race car. For 75 minutes tonight, some of the best GT3 drivers and LMP2 drivers will battle not only each other, but the always jarring concrete of historic 17-turn 3.74-mile Sebring International Raceway. I'm Greg Ginsburg, and joining me tonight in the announce booth, as always, is Larry Lefty McLeod, while we've got Dennis Branch and Jonathan Grabowski bringing you all of the best views of tonight's action. And tonight, Larry, as we come into this final round with at least two of our three classes with championships, I think, still up in the air and too close to call, our drivers are going to find multiple challenges here at Sebring. Of course, they've got each other that they've got to do battle with, but they've got that teeth-rattling surface. And I think the start time for today's race, or tonight's race, maybe a little bit later than normal, might even be bringing us into a time that might bring some new meaning to Sebring's Turn 17 or Sunset Bend. Going to be starting a little bit later in the afternoon this week.
Yeah, I love that because it brings out. Hey, Greg, how you doing? By the way,
good, Larry. Nice to hear you.
I am so excited for tonight. I think what we've done here as we reach the finale of this season, in what we did last week to this week, nearly no time for turning around two of the pillars of endurance racetracks in North America, going from Daytona now down to Sebring. I think it's an awesome way to wind out the season 3 here. And I think you're right about the track being a huge challenge. I think for these drivers to have to turn around their setups within just a week and hopefully get enough seat time to go from the big banked oval here to the super ultra flat, but other than a few dozen bumps and cracks here in the surface here at Sebring. And I think it's going to be exciting. I think we got a lot of points battles are going to come down to this last race. I think it's going to be a attrition race. Not that there's necessarily attrition from damage of the race cars like you'd have in real life, but it's attrition of mental focus. We see a lot of issues in these long races as you get down to the end of the finale of it through the S's or through, as you mentioned about Sunset Bend, you're going to have that sunset that in your eyes. And I think it's going to really create some opportunities for someone who's put the time in and is really well focused in and has drank their energy drink of choice to be ready for this long endurance format and to come out on top. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, you're so right, Larry. I mean, there are so many tracks that we see each season where you've got this flow that you kind of get into, and you get into this rhythm after a couple of minutes behind the wheel, and and you can, you don't exactly set the car and set yourself on autopilot to get through the 75-minute race, but Sebring is one of those courses, one of those tracks, where because of not so much the layout, but because of all the little vagaries in the track surface itself, you always have to be, you end up having to be on edge, and just putting the car a couple inches to the left or a couple inches to the right compared to the lap before can make for a very different outcome. So we'll definitely be watching to see how these drivers hold up. And so, Larry, as our drivers, they're going to be heading out for their 15-minute qualifying session here in just a moment. Actually, the track has just now gone green, and we'll have our drivers taking to the track in just a moment, where they will each have 4 flying laps in order to set a fast lap. And we do have cars and drivers heading onto the track as we speak. Why don't we take a look, because I alluded to the fact that we still have a couple of championships in play here. I want to take a look at the point standings here in each of our 3 classes, and maybe we'll do a little prognostication. And I might also add that we're going to have one of our drivers, as we do each week, come in and give us their feelings on how this race is going to play out. But actually, you know what? Before we do that, why don't we do? I don't want to short shrift Kevin Ford, our great admin here, who gives us each week's track guide. We talked about the track a little bit. Why don't we first turn things over to Kevin, and he's going to give us the lowdown on 17-turn Sebring International Raceway.
Welcome, everyone, to Sebring International Raceway. Great to have you with us as we provide you your track guide today around this 3.7-mile road course. That's right, nearly 4 miles is what it takes to get it done around this place. Well, let's get ready to get our lap started here. We'll head across the stripe. You'll notice our pit area to the right as we head down this front straightaway towards turn 1. Very fast entry here as this corner is full of speed. Right down to the wall here to get that rotation out of apex. Very bumpy coming off that corner. Heading down through 2 now, we'll get ready to hit our entry into turn 3, the 3-4-5 complex. Very tight through this section. Tough to overtake in this portion of the course. Coming up out of 5. We'll head around this slight bend here of 6. Take us out onto another little short chute here. You can see overtaking opportunities coming down into 7 here. Famous hairpin. Want to get a late rotation here so we can get that car to shoot right up through this section of corners here coming out. We'll head into Fangio. 8 and 9. This will take us down to Cunningham Corner. Heavy brake zone here. You will see some overtaking on entry here. But this corner is so bumpy. Trying to get power down off that exit is so difficult. We're going to head down to Tower Corner now. Heavy on the brakes. Late rotation here as well. Get right back to throttle, and we're right back to speed once again here. 2 double lefts coming up. Around the first one, around the second one here. No need to lift in this section. We'll come right back down on the brakes. Get ready for this right-hander here. 15, now into turn 16. Lamar curve and coming out onto the backstretch here, onto Almond Straight. Use up every bit of that exit to get some good speed as we head down this great overtaking opportunity here, heading down into Sunset Bend. A lot of varying surfaces here at this course, cement, asphalt. It creates quite a battle for these drivers here with all the undulation. Coming through Sunset, you're going to see this car getting bounced around like crazy. There you go. Look at that, just picking up all those little bumps and trying to get throttle down. Oh, it is a challenge here at Sebring International. What an amazing, fast course. There you go. There's your track guide for Sebring International.
All right, so thank you very much to Kevin Ford, and my apologies for almost skipping over the track guide on this very last week of our season here. I swear I won't do it again, and hopefully Kevin will have me back for season 4 after that huge faux pas. So Larry, let's take a look now at the points and see where we stand here after 7 weeks going into our final round. And we will start off with the LMP2s. And as you can see, Christian Eisler still maintains a lead over the rest of the field. He was only able to manage a 4th place at Daytona last week after what was a fairly disastrous wreck going down into turn 1. Got together with Tony Kernan and his GT3 Porsche. And of course, we'll talk to Tony, maybe not so much about that, but we'll talk to Tony in just a few moments here before the race starts. Then we've got Arthur Chan, who is 2nd in the points now. He took over 2nd place from Caleb Lavender. Arthur was our winner at Daytona, with Jennifer McDonald finishing in 2nd. Here, Caleb Lavender now drops down into 3rd place. He had also an incident with some GT3 traffic, retired the car early, finished in 5th place, and then drops down now into 3rd position, and he is definitely out of the championship as we speak. Jennifer McDonald again sitting in 4th, with Chris Thorman sitting in 5th. Randall McGrew hasn't been here for the last few rounds, and I don't believe we have him in the field tonight either. I believe, Larry, that we only have 4 drivers in the field in LMP2, and that means Christian Eisler, with that 12-point advantage, I believe, has the championship wrapped up going into tonight's race.
Yeah, he may. I can't do math, but he may. But what it does mean, there's still going to be that battle for 2nd. I think, which between Arthur.
Yeah, there's there's 10 points separating Arthur and Caleb, and only 2 points then back between Jennifer and Caleb in that battle for 3rd. And I don't see Caleb Lavender here this evening. So if that's the case, Jennifer McDonald stands to move up into 3rd in the final point standings. All right, so let's jump over to GT3 Pro, where Evan Peichel, having taken the win last week at Daytona, now has 212 points. He is 6 points up on Tony Kernan, who again we're going to talk to here in just a few moments. That Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing BMW of Peichel. If he can take the win tonight, he should come home with the championship. But there are some scenarios, Larry, where I believe that Tony Kernan could either draw even, which would make things really complicated for you and me, who we can't do math, or possibly move ahead with that 6-point advantage. There is between 1st and 5th place. There is a 6-point spread, and of course there are additional points for starting on pole and also for leading flying laps. So GT3 Pro definitely still up in the air. Travis Schwenke, who finished second last week at Daytona, he is currently sitting third in the points. He's pretty much out of it at this point, 46 points back, but only 3 points back from him is Andre Saunders, who finished third at Daytona and only sitting 3 points back from Schwenke. Then Jeff Jacobs sitting in 5th place in his StreetSurvival.org Mercedes. All right, so let's take a look at GT3 AM, where Eduardo Lorente has a 9-point advantage. And actually, I said that with 5 drivers, it was a 9-point split. Let's change that up a little bit, because I think you only, for the 6 points in GT3 Pro, I think it's only 4 drivers. In AM, though, where the Courage Motorsports entry of Eduardo Lorente, and we talked to Eduardo last week coming out of that Watkins Glen race. He is sitting in the lead. He finished second last week at Daytona. He's got 172 points. He's up by 9 points over Steve Daniels, SKKJ Racing Ferrari. And that is the one, actually, Larry, that the difference between first and 5th place is 9 points. Mm-hmm. So again, quite possible here that if Steve Daniels takes the win and Eduardo Lorente finishes down at the bottom of the order tonight, that Steve Daniel could sneak out of here with the championship.
I'd say the one I'm looking for here is Bobby Childs. If you start to break down, because they get a couple of drops throughout the season in case you miss a week or whatnot. Bobby is still carrying on his score of 156 points, a 7th place finish in the first round of the series. If he's able to pull out a win tonight and replace that 7th place with a 1st place, he could potentially jump all the way from, you see him there in 4th into the lead. So this is by far not over here.
Certainly not. It's certainly not at all. And you can see Julian Bell only a point back from Steve Daniel right now as well. Having finished 3rd last week at Daytona in his Graphite Racing Porsche, he is definitely in the money here as well. So things are very, very tight. And, frankly, Russ Ruddock not all that far back either in his Flying Tortoise Motorsports Lamborghini. So there's Russ making his way out through here in qualifying. So let's go. We'll take a look, Larry, at where we stand right now in qualifying, as we are now just about 9 minutes into this 15-minute session. And we've got some drivers about to complete their final flying laps. I think Jennifer McDonald just crossed the stripe to take in her last flying lap. Let's take a look at LMP2, where Christian Eisler, our points leader, currently your provisional pole sitter, 146.13, and he has only turned in, I believe, 2 flying laps to this point. He is up by 28 hundredths of a second over last week's winner, Arthur Channon, the Axon Driving Solutions number 50 machine. He has a 146.41.
Look at that gap, though, from Arthur to Jennifer. 1/1000th of a second between those two rivals there. That's awfully close there for the second spot on the grid.
And we talked a lot last week at Daytona how they had been working together quite a bit, and Jennifer has shown quite a bit of advancement over the course of the season, was running very close with Arthur.
But look at that lap that Christian Eisler just put down, the 45.6, 8/10 up on everybody. That's really impressive, just flying around this place.
There you go, and I believe he has 2 more. He has 1 more flying lap in the books. Jennifer McDonald has her 4 flying laps in, currently qualified 3rd. Chris Thorman also has turned in all 4 of his flying laps. He's going to start 4th in LMP2 with a 147.87. All right, so let's take a look at GT3 Pro, and the Pro drivers you'll see over to the left of their names there, the red numbers to denote what position they are in. The AM category drivers will have the green next to them. Evan Peichel, as we mentioned, he is your current championship leader in his Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing BMW. He has a 159.40 in the books, and he has 3 flying laps complete. And he's just come into the pit lane before starting his final flying lap. Tony Kernan running second in the championship.
There he is.
Yeah, there we go. He is out on track currently. He has a fast lap of a 159.95. So currently 55 hundredths of a second off of Peichel's times. Travis Schwenke in the number 16 Orion Racing entry. He is currently sitting 3rd fastest with a 2:11, with Saunders and Jeff Jacobs currently running 4th and 5th. And if we take a look at GT3 AM, Eduardo Lorente in that number 9. Courage Motorsports Ferrari is your provisional pole sitter in the class with a 2-minute .51. That is 0.2 up on, well, actually 0.3 up on Bobby Childs in his Ferrari. Bobby Childs driving the D2D E-Racing entry. Julian Bell, currently third fastest in his number 52 Graphite Racing Porsche. Then we've got Steve Daniel and Russ Ruddick rounding out the field. And still a couple of minutes left here in qualifying, and a couple of drivers still with flying laps. Looks like Andre Saunders only on his second flying lap currently. So he's got a couple more laps in the bag here that he might be able to turn out. Evan Peichel's on his last flying lap now, trying to improve upon his times.
Yeah, the GT3 Pro battle is going to be a fun one to watch there with Peichel and Kernan. But really, to me tonight is the GT3 AM group. I think Eduardo right now sitting on that pole position, kind of nestled up in there with the GT3 Pro drivers. You can see that 2 minutes .5 for him. And he's a row ahead of his rivals, Childs Bell and then Daniel behind them. So a little bit of an advantage at the start. But as we know, this place is just such a bottleneck going down into that turn 1-2 complex. Going to be very tough. So someone like Rente could either lose that entire lead going in there or potentially even put 4 or 5 cars between them, depending on how that pack pulls through. So the start tonight is so critical to a successful race. You could be in the tow, or you could find yourself in the lead in a matter of about 3 corners. Yes,
yeah, exactly. And and I guess the question will be, you said obviously it gets really bottled up as you come through turn 1 and make that run down the little short chute over towards turn 2 until you get into the little S's area there, 3, 4, and 5. That it gets bottled up there, but there's also a tendency, at least early on in the race, for you to just get this kind of procession, until you get all the way up to turn 13 and get onto the Flying Fortress straight, onto the back straight here, one of the 2 back straights. We'll call it the easternmost straight here at Sebring, and it becomes very difficult to make those passes. So we'll have to see here. And I did get word, Larry. Looks like, and it's gonna be a shame here. It looks like Caleb Lavender is out tonight. Again, not out for qualifying. Apparently, he does have an illness. So we obviously all wish Caleb well. And I've gotten word that he will be back with us next season. So can't wait to see that. And we'll talk a little bit more about our upcoming season. I've got a little birdie might have given me some information on the upcoming schedule, and we'll discuss that a little bit, I think, as the night goes on as well.
All right, so we are kind of winding down. I think Andre Saunders is the one we got him on here. It might be the only one left. In fact, looks like he's gonna bail on this lap.
Yeah, and as he does,
he only gets 2 flying laps in his qualifying.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, looks like he's going to hold station there. Andre Saunders qualifying 4th
I'm
in
thinking
GT3
also
Pro.
Tony Kernan must have been too game-faced to talk to us pre-race. So
yeah,
maybe he's thinking, let's not push it. Maybe we'll just have one conversation with him at the end of the night, and he's got his eyes on the prize to try and be here in the first place at the end of the race. So we'll see. We'll see where Tony ends up. This battle between he and Peichel is going to be a good one to watch.
All right, so Larry, as we've got the drivers starting the grid up, and they'll be heading out for their pace lap in just a moment here, why don't we start? We'll run down tonight's starting grid. Tonight on pole, Christian Eisler in the Punto Cielo Racing Dallara. He is your pole sitter, fast lap time of a 1:45.402. Arthur Chan, a full second off of that time. He's going to be starting on the outside of row number 1 in his Axon Driving Solutions number 50 machine. Jennifer McDonald in the BTL Motorsports entry will start on the inside of row number 2, and Chris Thorman will start next to her. The D2D E-Racing entry will start 4th. Now let's move over to GT3 Pro, where Evan Peichel in the Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing number 263 BMW will start on pole, with Tony Kernan in the Kernan Motorsports Porsche will start on the outside of row number 1 there. Almost a full half second off of Evan Peichel's times. Travis Schwenke in the Orion Racing Porsche will start on the inside of row number 2, with Andre Saunders in his Mohawk Racing BMW starting in 4th. Jeff Jacobs in the StreetSurvival.org Mercedes will start on the inside of row number 3. And right next to him, Let's see, who did we have there starting next to him? Larry, I think that was it. We said Tony Kernan, Travis Schwenke, then Andre Saunders. Yep. And then we go over and let's start with GT3 AM. Sorry, I got lost there for a minute. Eduardo Lorente will be starting on pole in GT3 AM with Bobby Childs starting next to him. Bobby's going to be driving the 88 D2D iRacing machine. That's a Ferrari. Then we've got Julian Bell in his Graphite Racing Porsche, the number 52 car, with Steve Daniels in the SKKJ Racing Ferrari right next to him, and then Russ Ruddock in the Flying Tortoise Motorsports Lamborghini will be trailing and bringing up the tail end of the field there, starting 5th in GT3 AM.
All right, drivers get a chance to go around this course, get a little bit of heat in their tires. They'll set up for their split starts. There you can see the LMP2 is doing just that, a little bit of warming, and the GT3 drivers hanging back a little bit. But I think both these classes, actually I should say all three of these classes, could be very interesting going into this first turn. The LMP2s, only 4 of them should be able to sort things out by the time they come down to turn 3. But as the GT3s, I think they're going to probably present the most excitement tonight. We'll have to really keep our eyes on that, especially because of those points battles. First between Peichel and Kernan, they're on the front row in their class. And then further down, as you've got Bobby Childs, Julian Bell, and of course, Eduardo Lorente in there, but I'm not seeing Eduardo on the grid.
Yeah, I'm showing that Eduardo has not joined the field, maybe having some equipment issues.
Oh, no.
or maybe he's really looking to make this
from an
one
iRacing standpoint. I'm showing him is disconnected. Hopefully he's able to get reconnected, but he's going to probably have to start the race from the pits. 75 minutes, you could do a lot, but man, starting from the pits certainly puts you pretty far
on the back foot.
Definitely on the back foot, yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt. And of course, Lorente had qualified on pole and is our current points leader in GT3 AM. And as we mentioned, there are some possibilities here for Daniel and Julian Bell to possibly move up into into the lead.
See if Eduardo gets reconnected. We'll, of course, update the viewers if that happens. And if he does, he'll be able to start from the pits, which if you haven't seen a pit start in an otherwise rolling start race, the drivers are typically held about 20 seconds. Then they're released. That gives the field a chance to get on by and get on through. So he's essentially going to end up starting the race from the back of the field. But being in the GT3 field, there's about, what have we got, about 10 drivers total between the AM and the Pro. Not insurmountable for him to be able to get up there and fight for first place in the AM category. So he's not out of it, but he has to get reconnected. Otherwise, it could be a game over for him. And then it's opportunities abound for Steve Daniel, Julian Bell, and of course, Bobby Childs, who right now are starting this race all neck and neck.
All right, so we've got the pace car now leading our LMP2 field. They're heading through the final chicane, otherwise known as Le Mans, here at Sebring, onto the back straight, onto the Ullman Straight, and a very long back straightaway here at Sebring International Raceway that brings you down to that Sunset Bend, turn 17. That you're just carrying so much speed there, and there is so little grip, and there are so many undulations in the pavement there. It really makes it makes it challenging to go side by side, but drivers seem to do it every single time. We've got the LMP2 field now, Larry, all girded up nice and ready to go.
By the way, Eduardo Lorente has reconnected.
All right, excellent. So he will be starting from the pit lane. Don't think there's going to be enough time for him to make the pace lap here. So, and actually, I don't think iRacing would let him take the pace lap.
They would not let him, no. Once they release him for the rolling lap, he's going to be stuck there. But it does mean he at least has a shot. 75 minutes, it's certainly possible. If this were the sprint format, maybe a little bit more difficult, but in 75 minutes, knowing we got pit stops to worry about, certainly well within the realm that he could still win his class. And we are green in LMP2.
Yeah, here we go as Eisler jumps out to a very early lead, almost 5 car lengths on Arthur Chan and Jennifer McDonald, who are side by side heading down into turn number 1 for the very first time. Chan is going to take second position, move McDonald back into third, and then we've got Chris Thorman sitting in 4th place as they make the run through turn 3 and in through those S's, as we now have our GT3 field coming through Sunset onto the front straight, and the flag is green for them as Evan Peichel leads the field, stays driver's left now, moves all the way driver's right to set up for turn number 1. So, still side by side, right back behind him. We've got Kernan and Schwenke, the 2 Porsches. Yeah. Then we've got Andre Saunders in the BMW sliding in right behind. And then back from there, we've got that big Mercedes of Jeff Jacobs. He is now sitting in 5th position, and then right back behind them, we've got the GT3 AMs, we've got Bobby Childs, we've got Julian Bell, we've got Steve Daniel and Russ Ruddock, and now leaving the pit lane, Larry, is Eduardo Lorente. He is just now rejoining the field as our GT3 drivers now make their way all the way down to the hairpin.
That's a lot of track position. That's a good 25 seconds after they went through turn 3 before he's able to released. So he's got some work to do. Great to see everyone have a good, clean start. That little side-by-side with Schwenke and Tony Kernan. Probably a little bit of a nervous moment there for Kernan in the points battle here. Those 2 guys are both right now, I think, sitting 2nd and 3rd in the points, but Kernan able to hold him off, and now he's going to try and take his charge up to Evan Peichel here. With, of course, it looks like Saunders in 4th in that BMW, that classic stealth black BMW, right now chasing Travis Schwenke in the Orion Racing Porsche. And
all right, we've got a replay coming up, Larry. The LMP2 field. We'll take a look here at Arthur Chan as they come down going into the hairpin at turn number 7.
Tires.
Yeah, he just the rear end goes around, and that moves Chris Thorman now up into 2nd. Jennifer McDonald got around, but looks like Jennifer McDonald went off as well.
Yeah, she went to try to avoid him, ended up in the grass, and she actually took longer to get back on the track than Arthur, so kind of worse really there for Jennifer between those 2 rivals, who of course are still fighting for 2nd in the overall in the points with no Caleb Lavender tonight. So they're both able to get going, no contact around, but already 2 minutes in and some drama there in LMP2.
All right, and as the field now makes their way, we're looking at the GT3 field as they make their way now back onto the front straight to complete their very first lap. It is Peichel, then Kernan, then Schwenke, then Saunders, and we want to keep an eye here. Saunders, coming down the inside, going through turn 1, trying to get underneath Tony Kernan. We're going to want to watch Saunders here, Larry, as we've documented quite a bit. He's had some issues early on in the races, dealing maybe with some cold tires, or maybe perhaps cold feet. I don't know, but we want to see if he can keep that car around. I think he's definitely capable of a very good finish here tonight.
I think you're right, but I want to keep an eye on this AMP battle right there. You got Julian Bell in the Porsche, in the Ferrari Bobby Childs, and in the 2nd Ferrari, the brown one there should be Steve Daniel. Those are the 3 right now in the running for the AM category GT3, and you can see all 3 of them. There were a couple of side-by-sides there with Bell and Bobby Childs. Bell now pulls a bit ahead of him. Of course, they'll be kind of checking their relative to see how far back is Eduardo Lorente. He's quite a bit back, unfortunately. But these 3 are there, not letting each other go. They are going to try and stay close all night long and try to make this thing right down to the last at the end of the wire. And there's a good shot of Eduardo Lorente just coming out of the hairpin.
Yeah, quite a ways back. Just has to put his head down. Yep. He's got about 2/3 of the track to make up in order to get back up to the rest of the field here. As we watch this battle now for 2nd in GT3 Pro with Kernan, Schwenke, and Andre Saunders, all about the car length and a half, 2 car lengths apart. As Evan Peichel has jumped out to that very early lead. Here in this race, a little bit further back in GT3 AM, we saw as they came out onto the Ullman Straight, Julian Bell, currently your leader, with Bobby Childs and Russ Ruddock very close behind. But we'll watch this battle here for a few moments now. The last time by, that BMW of Saunders had a really good run coming out of Sunset, going down into turn 1, and he made things a little difficult there for the 16 car.
Yeah, he did have a really good run the last time, and he just couldn't quite make it fully stick, and Travis was able to hold the position. But what that means is Saunders is really going to be the aggressor. If he gets any bit of an opportunity to get a better run off a corner, he's going to push and try to get up alongside and maybe make the action happen. He's not going to wait for it to come to him. Quick note, we did have a bit of a warning issued to number 52, Julian Bell, for avoidable contact. I suspect that may have been some side-by-side action between he and Bobby Childs. Both are still running strong in this, and they seem to be even pulled ahead a little bit away from Steve Daniel, who I don't see in the shots. He was back there.
I don't see. No, he's a little further back.
Well, we're going to watch the replay. It looks like a Steve Daniel. See what happened to him in this field. There he is, going into the S's. The back end just gets around of him.
And he just keeps the car off the wall, so that's going to mean a huge loss of time there for the number 88 Ferrari he's back up in the second, however, Larry, as best I can tell here in GT3 AM. So didn't hurt him all that much.
Yeah, it should be Bell and Childs and Steve Daniel in third there in the category.
I'm sorry, in third. I'm sorry.
Yep. Here you'll get a shot of the leaders in the overall the race in the LMP2 category. Or sorry, not leaders. Christian Eisler's the leader. This is for second now with Thorman after that spin earlier by Chan. Chan has caught back up to Thorman. And he looks like he wants to get around him before they get down to that turn 10 hairpin.
Yeah, let's see here as they make their way down, as they go down up to that quick little hairpin now over at turn 7. And there you go, as Arthur Chan has now made his way back up in the second. In qualifying, he was, I believe, almost a second and a half faster than Chris Thorman. So not a huge surprise there that he would have made up that ground so quickly. What's a little surprising to me, though, Larry, is that Jennifer McDonald, you saw her at the tail end of that shot. There she is, just coming through that little peak over at turn 10. She is still a good distance off. She did run a fairly fast lap, a little bit faster than Chris Thorman the last time by, but thought she'd make up more ground by now.
In that incident there with Arthur, she really went deep into the grass. It took her quite a while to get back onto the track of the racing surface, where Arthur, once he got the traffic cleared by, he just popped it into first and off he went. Yeah. That's pretty much the gap between them, about 3 seconds from Chan in second to Jennifer in fourth. I suspect Jennifer is going to be on the heels of Chris Thorman here, probably by the time they get to the end of the front straight in just a few minutes. Meanwhile, out in front, Christian Eisler is just checking out. He's running 46s. Look at that. He's got the entire front straight to himself. We're 5 laps into this race, and he's already got an almost 10-second lead over his rivals. And he is flying around here.
The last time by 4/10 up on Arthur Chan. And as he is now making his way.
I tell you what, for the 12-hour 24 of Daytona 12-hour Sebring races, I want Christian Eisler as my teammate. But look at these guys trying to chase and get past Jeff Jacobs. Bell getting all the pressure from Childs.
And Bell gets into the grass.
Little contact, pushes Bell a little bit wide. I don't know. I think that's just going to be racing incident there. But for Bell, he's going to get the worst out of that one. All the way out to the wall. He's going to have to recover, leaving Bobby Childs alone in the lead in GT3. Yeah, but you see, that left front looks like it's got a little bit of rubbing going on, so he's not racing with a clean car.
No, certainly not there. And perhaps one of the worst places to go off over at turn 13, over at the tower turn, just before that long Flying Fortress straight. That not only does he need to get back up to speed, but you've got a lot of other cars that may have been carrying speed, and there you can go.
And the stewards are going to take a look at it. From my vantage point, it looked like they were just kind of racing side by side, a little bit of contact under braking, and unfortunately for Bell, he ended up getting wide. Yeah. I would be surprised. Again, that was my first take look at it, but I'd be surprised if the stewards do anything with that. But they are taking a look.
All right, speaking of taking a look, Larry, let's jump back here in this battle in GT3 Pro, where Andre Saunders once again challenging Travis Schwenke for third place, and had a good little run down the front straight coming out of Sunset. Under braking, though, looks like the Porsche carried a little bit more speed, and you can see there, though, Schwenke getting a little bit loose going through turn 4 through the S's there. That BMW wide stance looking a little bit more stable than the Porsche, at least early on.
He looks certainly fast in the right spots. He seems to be strong under braking. You can see there going into the hairpin. He's very good coming off of the Sunset Bend, which is critical. Unfortunately, he's not able to get quite enough run in either of those spots to make a pass stick. Schwenke is doing everything he can to just hit the perfect laps right now to hold Saunders behind him. But Saunders is definitely showing some strengths here around this track, like he knows it pretty well.
Yeah, and I think that's given a little bit of breathing room to Tony Kernan just up ahead in the number 7 Porsche. As we take a look here as these drivers come onto the Flying Fortress straight.
Yeah, he's got a little bit. He doesn't have to worry so much with that battle happening behind him. It's given a little bit of breathing room. But again, it's only about a second or so. It's not like he's got 3 or 4 seconds. But Peichel in front of him is about 2 seconds up, and that's really where Tony wants to take his race. You can see Peichel there, beautiful wide entry line onto the Holman straight. You can see him just running down, getting a great momentum. right down into the sunset here at Sebring.
Yeah, and Kernan just cannot seem to make up any ground on that BMW of Evan Peichel. Last time by about 0.03 of a second separating those two drivers. As we now have coming down the back straight, it's Bobby Childs in the 88 Ferrari. He is your leader in GT3 AM, trying to get by Jeff Jacobs, streetsurvival.org Mercedes, and he gets it done. Battle for 9th overall, but more importantly now Bobby Childs puts another driver between he and second place runner Russ Ruddick here in GT3.
Back to LMP2, Jennifer McDonald trying to get around Chris Dorman, and she does right at the end of the home straight. Now she's going to make it her way around Sunset Bend and down the front straight. Boy, those big long cars are so. I've run the 12-hour race in these cars. It's a great time in these things around this track. They are just built for this place.
All right, here we go once again, and well, BMW of Saunders takes a quick look.
Man, he is right on Travis's tail.
Yeah, going through the hairpin there, and then things straighten out just a little bit as you got turns 8 and 9, which are more or less you can straight line those turns as you make the run down to that quick little peak over at turn 10. But yeah, you know, as you said, Saunders, he gets there at the right time, but look at this. Both of those drivers now have pulled right up. We were talking about just a lap ago how Tony Kernan had maybe a little bit of breathing room, and you know, he just had to put his head down to try and close up the gap to Evan Peichel. But now once again, both Schwenke and Saunders right on the back of that number 7 machine.
You know, we've talked to Tony earlier in this season, whether it was, I think it was in this series, in one of the post-race interviews, and he had talked about a couple of weeks where he had to just grab a setup, whatever was available, didn't have time to really develop one himself, and had to deal with a compromise of a car, was able to get it home. I'm starting to wonder if maybe that's what's going on tonight. As Kristen Eisler, your overall race leader, already on the heels of the GT3 leaders. But I wonder if that's what's going on with Tony tonight, because he really is he's got a couple spots on the track where he's quicker than Travis and a couple spots where he's definitely not. And I wonder if he's kind of nursing a compromised setup that isn't really his preferred one.
Yeah, and you know, and you said it, Larry, that his eyesore now is
he's right there.
Yeah, he's got to try and pick a line as the two Porsches make their way back over driver's right, giving a little bit of clearance to Eisler, who just knifes right in front of the number 7 machine under braking going into turn number 1. And you know, you mentioned it that typically these drivers, they've got a week, maybe 2 weeks between World Challenge rounds, but we're coming off, had a very short week here between Daytona last week. Of course, iRacing had their patches this past week as well. That may have affected things just a little bit. May have maybe invalidated some of the setups that these drivers had, and you know, they're back now at it here. And you know, have to make a go of it. And you know, the other thing is, Larry, you know, what may work on a short run and on a heavy load of fuel, and of course, as always, these drivers will be making, at least in GT3, they'll be making one pit stop here to get to the end. The LMP2 drivers, 2 pit stops to get to the end. You know, the cars may handle very differently under a heavy fuel load versus a light fuel load, and it all depends on the setup they've got on the car.
Yeah, very possible, and then maybe we'll see a faster Tony Kernan as the car lightens up, you know, getting towards that fuel stop. But you know, you did mention something, is we have reached the end of an iRacing season and started a new one. In fact, this past week, up until tonight, was essentially what they call the Week 13. If you're not familiar, they have 12 weeks of public racing. They have 1 week of this bonus weeks of really kind of goofy races, but it's also their opportunity to put out new content as well as do updates to cars. There wasn't anything significant in these, but there's always minor tweaks going on among the GT3s and some of the other cars. So it is possible, while maybe it wouldn't completely invalidate a setup, it certainly could just change it enough where a car that had been, you know, right in that sweet spot could possibly be out. Usually the changes are minor. Sometimes it's like a minor aero change or something. I honestly, got to be honest, I have not read all of the release notes to see if any of these were impacted, but certainly possible. But the other piece of this was, as you said, a lot of times in the World Challenge, we get about 3 weeks between races. You know, in between, they may be running a Miata, they may be running some other series, but typically it's a couple weeks if they want to get in some practice time, work on their setups. But with just these 6 days and 20 hours between, it didn't leave a whole lot of time to do much in terms of setting up. So, wow, Saunders really the aggressor there, right on the back of Schwenke.
Yeah, he was, and Saunders had to run real wide there over at turn 3 as Jennifer McDonald put the car underneath him trying to get through, and that has caused Saunders to lose a lot of ground right now back to Schwenke in that number 16 machine, and he's going to have to go through it all over again most likely as Chris Thorman is starting to fight his way through the front end of the GT3 traffic as well. And it's a shame there because for a moment, at least coming out of Sunset, it looked like the BMW of Saunders had perhaps his best opportunity to get at least even with the 16 machine since the start of the race.
Yeah, and he's had a couple times there going into that, coming out of turn 1 all the way down to 3, where he's been maybe just a nose next to the tail of Travis Schwenke. But you're right, that seemed to be his best opportunity. He had almost the entire car alongside. But then apparently also had Jennifer McDonald right behind him. And that lost a lot of momentum when he backed out of that. So he's got to work his way back up. He seems to have the speed. What would only worry me now is tire wear. How does that big BMW wear tires? We know the Porsche sometimes struggles with front tires.
Front tires, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see if the BMW, which I've heard also tends to wear the fronts more than the rears. So we'll see if he's able to hold up as they get towards the middle or late part of this race.
All right, it looks like Thorman in the number 60 Dallara gets by those two LMP or by the two GT3 cars on the Ullman straight there, so didn't really cause a lot of upset for them. Didn't make the move until they got out of the chicane coming onto the Ullman straight. As we jump back now, nice quiet race for Christian Eisler tonight, as he just turned his fastest lap of the race, Larry, put in a 1:46.59.
And he'll keep doing that as as the temps drop, we reach into the evening, the fuel level goes down, and these tires tend to be very good. My best gauge is actually here at Sebring. So you get around that 30-35 minute point, the car will just get faster and faster. We're about 17 minutes. Don't be surprised if he resets that fastest lap into the low 46s or maybe even cracks in a high 45 before he hits his fuel stop in the next 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, and I was just going to say we expect maybe a little bit better fuel economy than what the driver saw at Daytona, but perhaps for those LMP2 drivers, maybe 31, 32 laps max out of a full fuel fill. Now coming down, look at this, Larry, as they come down into the tower turn over at turn 12. Actually, I'm sorry, that wasn't over at turn 12. That was over at turn 10. Here we had Travis Schwenke up right alongside the Kernan Motorsports number 7. Now as they come and onto the Flying Fortress straight, looks like Kernan's opened up a little bit of a gap, but as those two drivers were side by side, looks like Saunders was able to close things down just a little bit.
I wondered. Yeah, I wondered there if Schwenke not having to worry about what's in his mirrors after Saunders had that had to slow up a little bit a few moments ago in the car clash there with Jennifer McDonald. But I'm wondering now this allows Travis to focus in on catching up to Kernan in front of him, and that's where you're seeing he's able to attack. We'll see how long this lasts, as clearly that attack has slowed them both down. Saunders is caught back up again. We'll see if he continues to attack on Kernan, or if it ends up being the second and third in this train, end up doing more battling, allowing Kernan to kind of focus on what's in front, while Evan Peichel seems to just be walking away.
I don't think Peichel's all that concerned at this point, as he's now opened up about a 4-second lead, it looks like, over the Porsches.
Yeah, he seems to really have the pace tonight, does Evan. Very consistent, just kind of making easy work out of this. For himself, you can just see that car just smooth, just catching the curbs. That's how you got to drive this place. And that BMW, he's been very familiar with all season long, very consistent with that pace. A couple of races where he didn't have a great finish, but other than that, he's been strong. Every race he's in, he's going to be right near the front row when he starts, and he's going to be probably leading the field for a significant portion of the race. The question will be does he get a good clean finish to this race, or do things get mixed up between multi-classes as well as some of the laps that he's got lap traffic to get around? Is Julian Bell now trying to get around that Russ Ruddock, trying to get himself caught back up again after the incident earlier with Bobby Childs.
There we go. So that'll move Bell now up in the second in GT3 AM. And next up the road is going to be Jeff Jacobs in his GT3 Mercedes. Margin now, I think, from our leader in GT3 AM, Bobby Childs, back to Julian Bell. It looks to be about 10 seconds, I believe, Larry.
So Julian Bell, Bobby, and just for mention, Eduardo Lorente, all running about the same pace these days, that mid to high 201s. Eduardo, though, he's about 10 seconds or so, I think, behind, about 15, I guess, behind Julian Bell. And of course, then another 6 seconds or so up the road to Bobby. Eduardo's going to need probably a little bit of help. He's going to have to maintain pace, but he's going to have to put in the best pit stop ever when that time comes here, probably the next 20 minutes.
Yeah, see if he can get in a pit stop that's about 10 seconds shorter than anybody else. I think is at this point what he's going to need to get up to the rest of the field. All right, let's watch here coming out of Sunset now. Again, the battle for second in GT3 Pro. Travis Schwenke in the number 16 machine, Tony Kernan in the number 7. And once again, I think you're right, Larry. I think with perhaps without the pressure of Saunders back behind, Schwenke has really started to get aggressive, and we've seen him be very aggressive on other stops along the challenge here this season. I think he was just, obviously his focus was elsewhere for the early laps in this race.
Yeah, I think so, and he's showing his strengths here. And there you can see just a little bit quicker than Tony. Each of the last number of laps has allowed him to be right up on his tail. Tony, though, did a very good job there coming out of the turn 5 onto that big bend down towards the hairpin, able to open up that gap a little bit, because that's a vulnerable spot. If you don't get a good exit, that hairpin down there at 7 is definitely a possible place for passing. Tony doing a great job to fend that off. But I think Travis seems to be very quick to this next section here, this 10, 11, 12, 13. And you can see him right on the heels of Tony. We'll see if he can maybe get a run coming off of the tower turn. We'll see what this looks like, as they are pretty good run. That's a fun corner, by the way. Just kind of flick the car in. Ooh, little wiggle the car there for Kernan.
And and I've seen Kernan maybe take that turn in a little bit early, many laps so far here tonight, Larry. Almost always dropping a wheel on exit, which, given the length of that Flying Fortress straight, probably not the best idea. I mean, obviously he's trying to carry as much speed through that corner as possible, but it definitely allows the 7 machine, probably the 16 machine, to be maybe a little bit closer when they come onto the back straight here.
Yeah, we'll see how well they can handle this. To me, is always the wild card corner. There's about 2 different lines. Usually there's an inner, there's an outer line that'll get you about the same amount of time to the corner. If you miss either one of them by half a car length, you hit an odd bump, and it's going to throw you off pace a little bit. You can see it there. Yeah. You can see it there between them. It seemed like Travis was a little bit tighter line than Tony out in front of him, but in the end, they both came through the corner about the same pace. As they come down through 1, through the kink here at 2, and then they go again to the S's here for this 3, 4, 5 complex, which Tony seemed to be exiting well before. We'll see if he can get the same good exit this time and fend off another potential charge from Travis.
Yeah, and you can see there, it almost looks like Travis is getting backed up there as they go through 4 and 5. Let's see if he decides to poke to the inside, making the run down to 7. He's maybe a little bit too far back, Larry.
He can't quite max lunge him, but he's gonna at least fill his mirrors a little bit, and try to make Tony know that he's there, make him think about it. Also get himself a good visual line down that straightaway to be able to see the braking point better. It's always, you're following somebody, you'd like to see more than just the bumper of a Porsche once in a while. But they are just tight racing. Again, Travis very quick here through that turn 10. And he's using a little more curb on the entry here to 13. Not able to get that full payoff to come down here with any more speed, but he's certainly more consistent there. And I think you mentioned it, sometimes Tony tends to early apex that one. That could cost him at some point going around that corner.
Yeah, and you can see there that Tony had gone and dropped the wheel once again. The rear end got a little bit loose on exit as he wrestled it back onto the pavement. But
Travis's lines are very clean. He's got a little bit better entry on all of those moves we just saw, whether it be the turn 10 right-hander, the tower turn 13, or even the end of the S's going onto the Ullman straight. All of them, he seemed to be just a little more crisp, a little wider to the entry, able to get a clean exit. Could be even saving a little bit higher. Tony's tires, as this race goes on, may be struggling. Travis might be doing a little bit better job conserving them.
Yeah.
Travis could also be conserving fuel right now, depending on, although poking himself out of the draft may not be the best. But if he is, could help him come pit stop time.
Yeah, and Larry, he is, though, definitely starting to fill the mirrors of the number 7 machine here as they head make their way down towards turn 3. Again, hard under braking here, and it just looks as though he gave this nice little poke to the inside coming down the Ullman straight before they got into sunset that last time. There we go, as the number 7 car drops a couple wheels once again there, driver's right, and it looks like he has the pace, but certainly he's able to get up to the bumper. He just cannot seem to carry enough speed around, and as you said, he may not want to. I mean, he might actually just be sitting back there getting in the brakes a little bit early and trying to save a little bit of fuel while he can just sit in the draft of the number 7 car.
He could also be seeing the same things we are, where Tony tends to maybe catch a little more grass and curb at the apexes. It pushes the exits a little bit and catches some grass, whether it be at turn 5 or turn 13. And maybe he's thinking, if I sit here long enough, maybe Tony will do me a favor and give me the spot. Tony, a good clean exit there at the tower curve. But maybe that's what Travis is thinking. It says, hey, you know what? I'm in a good position to pounce once Tony does, in fact, make the mistake. And Tony might just be, maybe Tony's just sort of slow playing it and making him think that there's some opportunity there. But meanwhile, Evan Peichel out in the front of this field, GT3 Pros, is just crisp as can be, just pulling away up now about 5.5 seconds on Tony and Travis.
And it was just interesting there as we watched the contrast between when Peichel comes out of 16 onto the Ullman straight versus the 2 Porsches, and it just looks like both of the Porsches, they are just ripping the car back across. You've got that little bit of concrete runoff on the outside of the corner there, but they're just as that goes away, they just rip the car back out onto the straightaway, and the BMW just looks so much smoother that there's just much more economy of movement there from the 263 car.
He's got a really good setup for sure to be able to handle the bumps there, whether it be the entry to the Ullman Straight or even the exit through Sunset Bend. I suspect that Evans probably worked a lot on his setup to get that car doing what it does. But I know that, of course, the Orion Racing team works really hard on their setups, and I'm sure that's what Travis is running, a standard Orion team setup there. But I'm not sure. Evan seems to have his own setup that's working very well for him, or whatever his team has set up for him.
All right, is our leader, Christian Eisler, now side by side with the 72. And, Andre Saunders just can't get a break, it seems, Larry, as Eisler gets him right at the hairpin, one of the slowest turns, as it is on the course, but a corner that the Mohawk racing car really would have needed to be able to dig out of in order to make up some ground on these 2 Porsches. And, just got him at the wrong time, and we'll see here is Eisler if he's gonna wait. Yeah,
he really wants by. He knows he's got 15 seconds in the bag if he wants to just wait. He's gonna pick off one of them, and he's gonna wait and get around Tony here as they spin around towards the Le Mans curves
and gets him there.
I can tell you though, if you're the LMP2 driver, it's frustrating because you've got a certain rhythm that you hit these corners. You have certain marks you want to hit. And obviously with multi-class racing, it's just something you have to learn to deal with. But it is at times frustrating because you want to hit that mark and suddenly you're pushed off that line, and it's very awkward. Christian seems to be handling it very well, but you can see some of that anxiousness trying to push through the traffic there. I think that's what it is. He wants to hit his marks and get back in his rhythm, and he can't really do that when you've got these couple of Porsches in your way.
Yeah, and I would suspect, Larry, if he comes out of the throttle to sit back behind these GT3 cars for an extended period of time, obviously the car is going to handle much differently as well, with a much lower level of downforce that, again, throws you out of the rhythm that you've got there. And, Christian's had some issues over the course of the season here, where perhaps that level of aggression has gotten the better of him, and it's brought him penalties. So, obviously here with that 15-second advantage here, and admittedly at Daytona, he was in the heat of battle with Caleb Lavender, and those 2 drivers were practically side by side. For sure. Yeah, so, but at this point, again, with a 15-second advantage, it behooves him to sit back and perhaps pick his spots.
Yeah. Well, he did lose about 4 seconds of that on that last time by. His last lap time was in the high 49s. He had been running in the low 46s, mid to 46s, and that is Arthur Chan. It looks like having again struggles at the turn 7 hairpin.
Yeah, that was at the hairpin as he went off wide, and Jennifer McDonald makes up a lot of ground now. She is only, and let's see, she pulls up right back behind the number 50 machine as they come through turn 10. And let's see here is, I'm sure Arthur, having been through another little wild ride through the grass there, is going to take a couple corners to get those tires cleaned off. And looks like he's still having a bit of an issue there. Let's take a look at a replay and see exactly what happened there, Larry.
And he's trying to make a nice clean pass, and he just outbroke himself, unfortunately. Yeah. And Saunders did everything he was supposed to do, kind of went offline even, made sure that there was plenty of room to the inside for Arthur to do the pass. Arthur just couldn't get the braking done and probably locked it up going deep. And rather than spin, he just kind of pulled it straight and kept on going. But he did lose about 7 or 8 seconds, and he lost all that ground to Jennifer. Jennifer now trying to push alongside him down the Ulman Straight. Going to go into Sunset Bend. She's going to take the wide line, get the strong exit speed, see if she can make it work for her. There's traffic up ahead, and it looks like going into the pits is going to be Arthur.
Yeah, so Arthur's after that spin. He's going to be the first of our LMP2 drivers to head to the pits for the first of really what are 2 mandatory pit stops as Jennifer McDonald now takes over second position.
That was a bit nerve-wracking to see them taking these variety of lines, seeing the GT3 cars up there, and Arthur able to dive into those pits. Jennifer now assuming the second place position. And my guess is she'll be into the pits very soon as Russ Ruddock is into the pits. That's earlier than expected.
Yeah, much earlier than expected. The GT3 cars, can make it somewhere along the lines of 23, 24 laps on a full tank. And
which means
that is only
open,
15 laps in. Yeah, it's definitely open. But again, an early stop, and that means he's going to have to probably run a little bit heavier fuel fill for the second pit stop.
Yeah, so for Ruddock, probably just thinking, let's get it done now, top the tank off, run the next 45 minutes, and this thing will be over. And for Arthur, he's watching his fuel gauge, probably realizing that needed a little bit of a breather there, right there inside of his fuel window. I'll be curious, though, what strategy he's using. We've seen him before use the short fill and then large fill second stop.
Right.
So we'll see in comparison what it looks like once Jennifer and Christian and Chris Thorman all each come in. Arthur's stop was only about 17 seconds. Seems relatively quick, I think, what we've seen in the past. But, what do I know? We'll see what Christian, Jennifer, and Chris look like.
And did I say Russ Ruddock was going to have to short fill for his second stop? I don't know what I was thinking. That should be enough. If he gets the tank full, he should be good enough.
You did. I tried to cover you, but if you want to admit your faults, it's okay.
I'll admit my faults. All right. So Russ Ruddock should be good to go as we're back on with our leader, Kristen Eisler, and Jennifer McDonald now, Larry, into the pits as well.
Which means Kristen's doing a fantastic job on fuel. He's now approaching the 33rd minute. Remember, they did a full lap of warm-up as well before the green flag, so got to take that into account. Christian going to run this thing down on fumes here before his first stop. We'll see what Jennifer's stop time looks like once she does reach her pit stall. She's there now. We'll see if she's more or less fuel than Arthur took on. And we'll see where they are. Remember, they were essentially side by side when when Arthur came into his stop. We'll see where Jennifer is when she comes out. Little longer stop.
A little longer. Yeah. So Arthur was in his pit stall for 17 seconds, almost 5 fewer seconds than Jennifer McDonald as she's now back underway.
If that's accurate display of fuel on board, I would now expect Arthur to probably come in a couple laps before Jennifer. Jennifer probably go right to around the 62nd, 63rd minute. Arthur might be in more like the 50th minute. As Arthur now a little bit ahead of Jennifer. And, of course, Chris Thorman assuming the second place position as he has not stopped yet, as we had a good shot of our GT3 Pro leader, Evan Peichel, continuing to just pound in the laps, trying to lock in a championship.
And now with almost a 7-second advantage over Tony Kernan and Travis Schwenke, currently locked in that battle for second position.
Remember that our leader here, Evan Peichel, lost the championship last season in the class he was competing in by 1 single point. He wants to emphatically win this thing without a question. So he's going to really lay in on the laps to try to win this thing going away. Speaking of winning going away, it's Kristen Eisler, your overall leader in the pits now.
All right, so we'll see. Try to get a bead on how much fuel he puts in the car. Chris Thorman still quite a ways behind. There is Thorman right there.
I suspect he'll be in the pits here as well.
Yeah, he should be coming in pretty soon.
Like that, yes, big tight. No, he's
Yeah,
going to
he's
stay
gonna
out.
run at least another lap.
Going to get that point for leading a lap.
There you go.
And now he's leading a lap.
And Eisler is now back on his way. Far clear of Arthur Chan and Jennifer McDonald.
But he now has to make his way through some traffic. You can see he's got the leaders in GT3 Pro right in front of him. Tough break for the former overall leader of the race. Now has to come out of the pits and do all this hard work on the cold tires, full tank of fuel. And by the way, 30-second pit stop compared to the 22 for Jennifer and the 17 for Arthur. I do suspect that Arthur for sure has a short load of fuel.
Short load, yeah.
Yeah, but for Christian, full load of fuel. He's gotten by Saunders. Now he's got to go to the same for Schwenke and for Kernan. That's always fun when you come out of the pits. You'd like to have a lap or two to kind of, relax and settle in. But no, come out in 2 corners later, you got to get around slower traffic or lap,
yeah.
The different class. Traffic not too bad tonight, at least. It could be worse, at least just for these cars. It seems that our GT3 drivers have really gotten the hang of how the LMP2 cars do make their passes throughout this season, as these two have been mixing it up pretty well. I think they race very well together, these two classes. And I think once each of the couple of races get under their belt, I think they all kind of get into that rhythm of how the classes will come together and where the best places are to kind of lift and let those LMP2s go by. This being one of them, of course. Tony Kernan's just going to stay left as Kristen Eisler goes burning down the inside up the Holman Straight.
And now you can see the gap though there, Larry, to Arthur Chan. Again with a much shorter time in the pits. He's made up a lot of ground as Chris Thorman, the final one of our LMP2 drivers to take his first pit stop, is on the pit lane now. But yeah, so again, Arthur made up a lot of ground in that first pit cycle, but we would expect that to stretch out again. I suppose when they go in for their final stops. All right, so Larry, we're just about halfway through this 75-minute race. Why don't we take a quick break? We're going to thank some of our sponsors, and we'll come back with more action here from Sebring International Raceway. You are watching the Extreme Motorsports Rickmotech World Challenge, and we'll be right back.
Rickmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. Whether you're just looking to have fun, train for race day, or become a serious esports competitor, Rickmotech has you covered. Hundreds of name-brand parts. Support from experts that love sim racing. Trusted by the pros. There's only one place to go, Rickmotech.com. Rickmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Rickmotech.com.
All right, we're back here at Sebring International Raceway for the final round of the Rickmotech World Challenge. I'm Greg Ginsburg along with Larry McLeod. And Larry, we are on board right now with Travis Schwenke, who during our break came in for his first and only, what we assume will be the only pit stop of the evening for him.
Yeah, it was good timing. He decided to come in. Our theories about whether or not he was able to save any fuel will soon be shown, as he was right on the tail of Tony Kernan when he came in. He's the first of the leaders in GT3 Pro or Am. We did see Steve Daniel come in for his stop and Russ Ruddock to take his earlier, as we saw. But now we'll really start to add them up. Where does Tony Kernan and, of course, Andre Saunders, who was only a couple car lengths back from them. We'll see where those three come out after the pit exchanges. Also of note, Eduardo Lorente. We were talking about he needed a quick stop. He got a pretty good one, 19 seconds of the four that have stopped. That's the quickest. We'll see what his rivals, Bell and Childs, do on their stops.
Yeah, and he's worked himself up to third now in GT3. GT3 Am. He's about 16 seconds back from Julian Bell. But again, both Bell as well as Bobby Childs have not come in for their pit stops as of yet.
That could be good for Eduardo. He's made up some great ground. If he's got his stop in and he's only 16 seconds back from Julian, good opportunity there. Eduardo putting in some flyer laps here since he had that issue there on the grid. So could be an interesting finale here between these three drivers.
That's right. So here, let's reset the field here as, again, our LMP2 drivers have all gone in for their first pit stops. Your leader right now overall is Christian Eisler in the number 14 Punto Cielo Racing Dallara. Then we've got Arthur Chan in the Axon Driving Solutions number 50 machine. He is sitting about 6 seconds, a little bit less than 6 seconds back from Eisler. Then Jennifer McDonald, she is now sitting back in third in the number 99 BTL Motorsports entry, with Chris Thorman in the number 60 D2D E-Racing entry. There is Chris trying to get by the 88 machine. He's currently running in fourth in GT3 Pro. And again, you can pick out the GT3 Pro drivers. They've got the red mirrors, red windshield banners, red number boards on their cars. Your leader right now is Evan Peichel in the number 263 Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing entry. The BMW. Tony Kernan currently sitting about 7 seconds back and in second place in the Kernan Motorsports Porsche 911. Then Andre Saunders now sitting up in third in GT3 Pro in his Mohawk Racing BMW, having leapfrogged the machine of Travis Schwenke, the number 16 Orion Racing entry. Schwenke, the only one of our drivers in GT3 Pro to take a pit stop at this point.
Yeah, so now we're theorizing about Eduardo Lorente showing that 20-second pit stop actually might have been his 20-second hold at the start of the race, which would explain why he's only 17 seconds behind Bell, 22 seconds behind Bobby. But still, not insurmountable, those kind of times, if he's able to get a good stop. So we've got to keep our eyes on all of this. It does look like still it's Schwenke's the only one who has stopped. But there you see it, Andre Saunders. He was running fourth and now third in the pro class. We'll see where he is able to come in and get his fuel load on and see where he comes out relative to Schwenke, who's already stopped. The bogey is about 20 seconds of stopped time in the pit stall.
Yeah, and we'll have to see here, Larry, because that BMW, of course, once he got separated out from Schwenke and from Tony Kernan, he was running all alone without the benefit of the draft. And if he was going to be doing any fuel savings, obviously he was going to be having to do it by lift and brake going into the corners there. He wasn't going to be able to pick it up from the draft of the cars ahead. So we'll see how he does.
His pit time here, he's already 6, 7, 8 seconds slower than Schwenke. Schwenke's already gone by. As you can see him there coming down into the turn 2 kink into turn 3, and Saunders is now just leaving his pit stall. Not a good pit opportunity there for Saunders. That's going to shuffle him back. Schwenke going to hold on to that virtual third spot. Now we'll have to see, what about Tony Kernan and Evan Peichel, as those two still have not stopped, as well as you start looking at the Am leader, Bobby Childs, has not stopped. And his Ferrari, Julian Bell, and his Porsche also has not stopped.
Yeah, and I don't know what happened there, but it appears that the 72 car ended up taking on quite a bit more fuel, at least, than the 16 car. Again, what we were saying there, he was in his pit stall almost 11 seconds longer.
All I could
than
think is
Travis
that maybe he tried to take on some tires too. I didn't quite see if he had the car in the air to take on tires, but if he did, maybe he'll have some pace later in the race. But that certainly is going to cost him on time. As there's Bobby Childs, you can see that fender a little bit off kilter on the left front. That I believe is from the incident, even the rear too.
With Julian Bell.
Yeah, the Julian Bell contact exactly going into the turn 13 tower curve. And there is Mr. Bell trying to get a bit of a draft off the big Mercedes of Jeff Jacobs.
All right, there we go.
Tony Kernan.
Yeah, Tony Kernan now into the pits for his pit stop. That leaves only one driver. Our leader in GT3 Pro, Evan Peichel, still out on course without taking the single pit stop as of yet. We'll have to see how long he ends up here on the pit lane, but let's watch Tony Kernan and see where he comes out on track in comparison to Travis Schwenke.
Well, he's 3 seconds pit stop time slower than Schwenke, and there goes Schwenke to the front straight. This is going to be close. As Eduardo Lorente goes on by. Now, where is Schwenke? He should be right behind Tony.
Right behind him. And there he
is. So
very, very similar times. It does not look as though the 16 of Schwenke made up a lot of ground, or if any ground, on Tony Kernan. The advantage that he has right now, though, is he's got some heat in the tires, Larry.
Yeah, I think Tony might have put on some good in-laps there because the overall pit lane delta a little bit faster for Schwenke, 2 seconds quicker, but you can see track position did not go any different. Right now, Tony is not happy about Kristen Eisler wanting to get by going into turn 7. As Tony's able to hold that and put a car between he and Schwenke, now Kristen Eisler is going to get on by. And that's what happens when you're in a battle. You're one of those GT3
Absolutely.
cars. You don't want to give up that position. You don't want to hold any longer. You just have to kind of signal to that LMP2 car, hey, you got to wait. You've got a 15-second lead.
Just a little positioning here, a little positioning there to use them to your advantage rather than to have them slow you down in traffic. And luckily for Tony Kernan, Eisler came up on the back of him at just the right moment.
But by the way, I mentioned about a lead that Eisler has. Remember that Chan appeared to have maybe short-filled the car. He's only 5 or 6 seconds behind Eisler. There you can see 5.9.
Yeah, and he's
Chan
right behind the 2 Porsches now.
In probably the worst place to catch a pack of GT3. He's going into those S's. There's no place to get around him. He's going to try and blow on by him here on the back straight. A little draft off of one of them. And now, here come your 2 leaders in the AM category. Bobby Childs, Julian Bell, back-to-back coming into the pits. I'll be curious if Bobby Childs tries to take on any of the repairs or if he just takes the fuel and gets out of there.
Yeah, and that is a much smaller gap than I had expected to see, Larry, as Julian Bell only a couple seconds back from Childs as they hit the pit lane.
And then you just saw Eduardo Lorente coming in and his Ferrari right behind them. So all 3 of them together right there in the same shot. They're in the GT3 AM category. In fact, it looks like Lorente, who had been on that provisional pole, I guess, in that group, is going to pull into his pit spot.
Yeah, just as the other 2 drivers are going out. Now, the one advantage that Lorente has, Larry, is he did not have to, he did not run the pace lap. So a little bit, maybe a little more, a little less of a fuel burn in that car. May not need to take as much fuel, but you can see the top 2 drivers in the category already now back out on track.
Tell you what, he did definitely take the shortest stop there. Bobby's pit stop time, 21.4. Eduardo Lorente, 18.8. So he picks up another couple of seconds there for Eduardo, trying to get closer. Now the work is going to start. He's got about 27 minutes to get it done. It's going to come right down to the wire at GT3 AM as Andre Saunders right on the tail of that Bobby Childs. Yes, it is.
That is Bobby Childs.
And Bobby probably a little nervous, thinking, hey, Andre, got to watch yourself there. As our leader, the BMW Evan Peichel, into the pits.
All right, there you go. There's the 263 machine. He had about a 35-second advantage as he hit the pit lane. So we'll have to see where those 2 Porsches of Kernan and Schwenke end up.
Look at the run that Saunders gets to get up in the back of Bobby Childs around the tower curve. Solid speed here for Saunders. He does not want to be held up if he's faster than Childs. You can see he looks like he's feeling like he's held up. He's going to want to try and get a better run on the Ullman straight here And you can see a good shot of Julian Bell right in the background trying to catch these two as he's in a battle with Bobby for the GT3 AM.
Yeah, and that's again another one of those situations, Larry, where Bobby doesn't worry about making the car a little wide. It's to his advantage to keep that BMW between he and Julian Bell.
Sure. I tell you what, that Ferrari's got some legs. Did you see
Yeah.
that going to the straightaway? Not an ounce of gain for Saunders. Saunders looks very quick through the corners, but that Ferrari is able to hold him off, and that might be, I wonder if it's the same thing that Saunders was finding when he was trailing the Porsche. I wonder if the BMW just doesn't have the straight line speed tonight, or if maybe Saunders is running a little bit more wing.
Well, that's what I was thinking, Larry, is maybe he's got a little bit, and there he goes as he gets by the Ferrari heading down into turn 3.
Bobby realizing it was better to not fight.
Yeah, could end up for naught for both of them here, which I'm sure Bobby wouldn't want with him in the lead here. But yeah, I was thinking about this, Larry, is perhaps Saunders, as well as that car appears to be handling and as planted as it appears, very much in some of these faster corners, that perhaps he's just got a little bit more rear wing on the car than the Porsches do.
Yeah, and it would explain a lot. Whereas in the past, we've seen Saunders with very loose cars, and I'm wondering if for this race he's decided a little bit more wing.
Yeah, I guess that's learning by your own example. As we've talked about some of his issues sometimes early on in the race, and that he does have a car that appears to be very tossable sometimes.
Well, we're on board here with Eduardo Lorente, who comes into the night GTAM points leader. He's right behind Russ Ruddock there in that number 95 Lamborghini. For Eduardo, he's now about 20 seconds or so behind Bell and Childs, and that's the gap he needs to gain. And that's almost like 2 seconds a lap he's going to have to find to catch these guys. And as there, we've kind of predicted. What did I say? Arthur would come in around the 50th minute. Well, here he is, at 51 minutes into the race for his second stop. We'll see where he comes out relative to Jennifer McDonald, who
Larry
took
McLeod, human fuel calculator. There we go.
They make apps for that, or you could just pay me either one.
All right, so we'll see where Arthur comes out on course here, and he is now back out underway. Pit stall time, Larry, looks like about 22 seconds, so maybe about 4 seconds longer than his first stop.
Well, this is Lorente. This is going to be for position if he can get by Russ Ruddock. These guys are both in the GT3 AM category.
And Ruddock's been doing for the last half lap or so, has been doing a very good job holding that Ferrari off.
And it looks again like the Lamborghini's got the legs the straightaway, but we were just talking about Bobby's Ferrari having some legs. I'm wondering if Lorente also is running a little bit more wing than perhaps the straightaway speed Lamborghini for Russ Ruddock. As Chris Thorman pulls into the pits for his second stop.
All right, so the number 60 car, that was the very last car in for his first stop. Larry is the second car in for the second stop, and he's back underway.
And we are back to this battle of Porsches. This is Tony Kernan, Travis Schwenke. These are the guys coming into the night. We're sitting second and third. In fact, the GT3 Procast right now is in exactly the same order as points, with Peichel, Kernan, and Schwenke, your top three. And, it's always going to come down to maybe some drops and things, but I think Schwenke would love to have a strong finish here at the end of the season. I don't know if he's got enough in the bag to be able to catch Tony on points, but he'd love to play spoiler for Tony, who's trying to fight for that championship with Evan Peichel.
Larry, I was just watching as Kernan was going through the S's there over at 15 and 16 over at Le Mans, and that number 7 car does not, at least the rear end of that car, does not like the curbing over there. It really unsettled the car. It's the second time I think I've seen it this evening. The 16 car definitely made up a little bit of ground. Now, speaking of which here, as we've got the number 50 coming in towards turn 1, hugging the wall is Arthur Chan, and just manages to get by the two Porsches without, I don't think, really affecting their race all that much. But it looks like Arthur Chan was looking for every last inch that he could put between he and the two GT3 cars.
He was trying to make his way by without interrupting their race. He did a pretty good job of that. Took the tight inside line, and with an LMP2 car, you could do that and still carry probably the same speed the GT3 cars would need at full entry and exit radius. But you can see Tony Kernan just holding on to it. Travis looks like maybe there's still a little bit of fight left in him in the next 20 minutes or so to try and maybe take this spot back. But Tony's been fighting all night long, would love to get the win, but right now he wants to hang on to every point he can get.
So Larry, I was just looking here, as we mentioned in LMP2, Chris Thorman was the last driver in for his first pit stop and second one in for the second stop. Only spent 5 seconds, a little bit less than 6 seconds in the pit stall. So I think the epitome of a splash and go there, which with 20 at the time he left the pits, almost 25 minutes left in the race. Wondering whether or not he's going to have enough to get to the end.
I wonder. We will have to see, because we know that Christian, I think, was a very, very late stopper as well. We'll see if his stop is only about that same 5-second range. And he should probably be stopping. He doesn't have to stop yet. We figure he could probably go to about the 64th minute or so. Yeah. Jennifer might be the next one to stop, as she had taken on more fuel than Arthur in her first stop, but I don't think she took on as much as Christian did, so she might be coming in soon. Is that her in the background? There she is.
And there's Jennifer McDonald.
In the BTL Motorsports number 99 entry there. Traditional blue with white colors. It's a great platform for painting, by the way. It's almost like a big rolling billboard. You could pretty much put all sorts of color schemes on it. And we got some pretty cool ones here tonight with our 4 different competitors. There goes Christian up the inside there, trying to get by this battle of GT3 hams, and Eduardo trying to catch a little bit of draft if you can. The draft disappears quickly when it's in an LMP2 car. Chris Thorman, though, wants to get inside of Eduardo before they get to Sunset Bend, and he's going to.
Just gets it. Yeah, just gets it done there underneath the Lamborghini of Russ Ruddock.
Eduardo still can't get by, though.
I was just going to say, Larry, I think it was 3-4 laps ago when we checked in, and Eduardo is still trying to make his way past that big green Lamborghini.
And he's now 25 seconds behind Bobby Childs. Remember, he was 22 seconds a couple laps ago, which means he's really is being held up, I think, by Russ Ruddock. No knock on Russ, but Eduardo coming in as the points leader has got the pace. He's just struggling to find his way by tonight. And what did I say? Jennifer McDonald on her way in to the pits now for her second stop.
All right, and she had almost a 40-second advantage over Arthur Chan at the time she came in. Let's see when she takes the fill here where she's going to end up on track and whether or not she can hold on to that second position. And here now the battle's on, it looks like, Larry, or maybe it's been on for the last 40 minutes or so. But it looks like, at least that time by, it looked like Schwenke thought he might have had a run on Kernan going down into the S's there, and he settles back in behind. But at least for the time being, they don't have any LMP2 traffic to get between them.
They do not. And speaking of LMP2s, Jennifer McDonald does yield a position to Arthur Chan, but it's close, as they look like they're only about a second or two apart. So that'll be a fun one to watch. But there is Arthur, and right behind somewhere, there she is Jennifer McDonald. So they've taken on their required fuel loads. Now it's just down to driver in the next, we'll call it 18 minutes, to try and take the second spot in this race, assuming that Kristen Eister can bring it home. But Eduardo Lorente, still in his Ferrari, struggling to get past the Lamborghini of Russ Ruddock. He's going to have to put together a combo move, maybe force Ruddock off his line to make a pass, because he is definitely struggling right now.
Yeah, and for a moment there, it looked like he had Larry coming through the S's there, as it looked like the Lamborghini was all crossed up. But unfortunately, that's a part of the track there that, given the width, yeah, there's nowhere. If you get crossed up, there's nothing for the trailing car to do except get on the binders.
Yeah. And you just watch down the straightaways, that Lamborghini seems to just pull. And there's nothing that Eduardo can do except maybe try to set up the next corner, try to brake a little bit later. But he's really struggling tonight, all the way from the get-go, from the time the call went to grid and he had to quickly exit and restart. Did not set his race off on the right tone. Now he's just been fighting. He'd love to at least get to this third spot in class and get around Mr. Ruddock, but Russ not making it easy on him.
All right, so we've got just about 15 minutes left to go here in this 75-minute battle. Quick recap of the field. Christian Eisler leads LMP2 with Arthur Chan and Jennifer McDonald running in third. Then in GT3 Pro, Evan Peichel, just ahead of this battle that we're watching right now, is your leader in the 263 Alpine Stars BMW, with Tony Kernan and Travis Schwenke now running second and third. And then in GT3 AM, Bobby Childs, your leader with Julian Bell, looks like about 3.5 seconds back. Then we've got Russ Ruddick sitting in third, and of course we've been watching that battle for third between Ruddick and Eduardo Lorente for quite some time now, as we jump back to this battle for second in GT3 Pro. And Larry, I think now as Schwenke, I think, is realizing the clock is starting to run down, he's starting to bring the pressure to Tony Kernan.
Yeah, I think he finally is. He certainly has collected enough data to maybe put together a move. Yeah, I mean, considering he's been following him for the better part of an hour, I don't think there's much more data he can collect. He's got to execute now, make the calculation, figure out where is he faster. This is probably not one of those spots, as Tony's been really good here. I think for Travis, he's going to have to probably look somewhere in between turn 7 and 10. Might be his best shot. He seems to get a pretty good strong run out of this next corner here at the hairpin.
Yeah, he always seems to get a good run out of turn 7 at the hairpin here, and you can see even there, and then as things straighten out, he always seems to be right on the back of the 7 car as they come down to 13 to the tower turn. But again, just cannot seem to make up any ground in a straight line either, and maybe he does have a little bit more wing dialed in than the 7 car also, yeah. Larry.
Yeah, perhaps just a little bit. Which means he's really going to have to chuck it through the tower curve there and maybe try and force a side-by-side. They're coming up to that curve now. You can see he's just nice and clean on the exit there. I just don't know if he's got enough momentum to get on by. He's going to, I mean, Tony, I'd like to say for Travis, got to hope that Tony makes a mistake, but I can tell you what, an hour and 1 minute in, he hasn't made any yet.
Yeah, or he hasn't made a major one yet. It looks like he's cleaned that exit. That exit onto the Flying Fortress straight, looks like he's cleaned up quite a bit from those.
And you had said
laps.
earlier, sometimes when you take a setup, it's better at certain points of fuel and tire, and perhaps Tony's setup was better on a light load, as he's trying to defend to the inside here down the Ullman straight, not to give any draft away to Travis, but maybe perhaps the car is working better with a little lighter load and a little bit worn tire than maybe it was earlier in the race. But,
and interesting there.
Yeah.
And Larry, to see Kernan move all the way driver's right to break the draft and then be able to come all the way back across Travis, and it appears as though Travis didn't lose or didn't gain any from when he was in the draft or when he was out of the draft, I think is saying quite a bit there for again, perhaps the setup that the 16 car has.
Yeah, I think so, and I think that's where Tony's realizing that he's quick enough, as now they've got to deal with Kristen Eisler, overall race leader, LMP2 leader, trying to get him by them.
Down to the hairpin. Let's see what happens.
Looks like Christian's going to do a pretty good job of getting around these guys without interrupting them. As finally Eduardo Lorente looks like he's gotten around Russ Ruddick for that third spot, and that's critical for him because remember, he's coming in as the points leader with about 8 or 9 points or so ahead of Steve Daniel, Julian Bell, and, of course, Bobby Childs. With Bobby Childs right now leading this class, Bell in second, it's critical for Lorente to at least get into the third and put some pressure to maybe hope that there's going to be enough points to cling to the overall for that class. But Bobby and Julian doing what they can. But for Eduardo, that was critical for him.
Yeah, absolutely, Larry. And, of course, with Steve Daniel running second in the points, to have the 96 Ferrari sitting back in fifth currently.
But look at the battle behind them. This is the battle for second in class tonight. LMP2, that is Arthur Chan. That is Jennifer McDonald. Look at Jennifer now right on the heels going into the hairpin where we know Arthur struggled tonight.
Yeah, let's see here. His third time a charm for Arthur Chan. He makes it by that time, but you'll have to wonder every single time they head there under braking, can Jennifer pressure him enough that perhaps he loops the car there once again. But McDonald seemingly made up, I think, about 2.5, 3 seconds after that pit stop window. So she's carrying very good pace here this evening, Larry.
She really is, and I think she's timed this right. She's timed the end of this race very well. You can see right there, picked up a half a second, lap 33, another tenth or so on lap 34 to close this up, and that's all since the pit stop. So coming down to the end of the race, she's racy. She wants that second place in this race and see where she can land. Remember, these two are only a couple of points apart, I believe, for between second, third, and fourth in the overall points for the season.
Yeah, about 12 points separating Chan from McDonald. Oh, and that is Larry Eduardo Lorente. He goes around, coming out of the S's, coming onto the Ullman straight, and into the wall there. We'll have to see how much damage it does to that Ferrari, but that is going to drop him now down into fourth position as Russ Ruddock now works his way back up into third. And let's watch that car as it comes around. And can't really, it doesn't look like there was a lot of damage. Yeah, let's take a look, Larry. Don't have a replay of Eduardo Lorente, but Travis Schwenke, because you'll notice now he is running all by himself and nowhere near Tony Kernan.
Oh, a little bit of trouble in the sunset there. Maybe the sun got in his eyes, struggling to try and stay close. Unfortunately, he was trying to hope maybe Tony would make the mistake, but in this case, it's Travis's mistake, giving Tony a lot of breathing room.
There you go. So for the first time tonight, I think Tony Kernan can feel, well, maybe not for the first time, I think the first 5 laps or so, yeah. Tony was feeling awfully safe when he had, when Schwenke was under attack from Andre Saunders, but that gives him a lot of breathing room now. As we take a look, we'll go back to this battle now for second overall with Arthur Chan and Jennifer McDonald, as we're now down to 10 minutes remaining here from Sebring.
This is definitely the best battle on the track.
All right, Larry, let's jump back, and we're going to take a look at Eduardo Lorente and where he got into trouble going through the S's there. As he got into the grass on the exit. Oof.
Yeah, he got wide coming off the S's onto the Ullman straight, and the tragic mistake of catching grass there sends him down to the inside wall. That could damage that car. Any chance he had of finishing third in this class, in this race, probably all just went away. Now it's going to come down to points, and we know that it's close between Bobby and Julian, currently sitting third and fourth. Do they have enough in them to make it up and win the championship in the last round and take over Eduardo for that spot?
And we'll have to keep track on Eduardo. Now, that last time by, he was about 5 seconds off of Ruddock's pace, but I don't know if that was the lap, the same lap that he had the wreck on.
It may have been. We'll see what it looks like next time by. But either way, he took a pretty hard lick into that wall. I'd be surprised if he could run anywhere near what his previous lap times were. His chances of finishing right now, he's got to cling to a fourth place because Steve Daniels coming up behind him, not too far back if there's anything going on with Eduardo's car.
Yeah, and remember that Steve Daniel was 9 points back from Lorente going into this evening. So as long as they keep that there, Daniel should not be challenging for the championship. But again, Julian Bell certainly in the catbird seat right now.
Yes, Steve Daniel definitely needed a stronger finish this, unfortunately for him. But I think you're right. Bell and Childs, I tell you what, Bobby Childs, like I said, he's got a big, really poor finish that's still counting towards his point total. That might drop if he's able to pull a win here tonight. But Julian, he can still have something to say about it. They're only about 2 seconds apart now with about 8 minutes to go. So it is by far not over in GT3M.
All right, and as we watch now here, we got all our eyes on the 88 car, on Bobby Childs, who is your leader currently in GT3AM, and he was just right in the middle of that battle in LMP2 as Jennifer McDonald was caught behind the 88 car through turns 3, 4, and 5, and that has allowed Arthur Chan now to open up about a 2-second advantage. It doesn't seem like much, but I think I'll bet for Jennifer, when she was sitting back behind and looking at the taillights of that Ferrari, probably felt like an eternity.
Yeah, it's kind of like going back to Daytona, where kind of similar, where there was a lot of traffic coming down to the end of that race, and Arthur was able to kind of snake his way through just quick enough. He's able to do that there, put some daylight between. It's not over yet, but I'm sure he can breathe a little bit easier as now he's got Travis Schwenke in front of him. Jennifer's going to try and return the favor here. She's going to gain a little bit, but I don't know if she's going to gain that full couple seconds she just lost.
And we'll have to see if she's going to end up. Oh, and Arthur Chan. Yeah, Larry, did you see the same thing I did when he got on the brakes? A lot of rotation from the rear of that car. under braking on the curbing there.
Yeah, and I bet now as the temperatures drop a little bit, as the sun's setting and the tires now have 70 minutes under them. Oh, and here's Eisler finally coming in for his splash and go. He's got about a 50-second buffer. This is probably only going to be about a 35-second stop total pit lane time. So this should be pretty quick for our overall leader. Just for reference, Chris Thorman did that 6-second stop. It was 37 seconds all the way pit lane delta. So Christian should be able to hang on to the lead. If he's only
and there he goes, stopped. And he is out.
Pretty quick there.
Yep, 8 seconds, about 8 seconds in the stall. And as he rejoins the action now, he still has about a 53-second advantage over Arthur Chan.
I think that might reset once Arthur crosses start-finish, but yeah, it's going to be a pretty significant amount. Either way, as there's Arthur coming down the front straightaway with Jennifer in tow, as they're going to try and catch Tony Kernan and get by him before they get down into turn 3.
Yeah, and you're right, Larry. It's down to 23 seconds.
As Jennifer is trying not to get stuck behind Tony. Look at her just aggressively pushing her way through. Does not want to lose through these S's.
Yeah, she knows time is of the essence, as we now have only 4.5 minutes remaining in this 75-minute battle.
Pretty close to 3 laps, give or take, where our leader is. Could be a 4th one, which could be interesting for fuel loads, of course. Especially for Arthur, who was the first of the leaders here, the first of the LMP2s to take on his second fuel stop. Let's hope he calculated right. If he has to take on a 4th lap from here to the finish, hopefully he grabbed enough fuel for his stop.
Now, I'm still starting to wonder whether or not Thorman's going to make it.
That was a pretty short stop for Thorman when he came in,
yes.
So there he is, although not going to change his finishing position, to be fair. No. He's 4th in the LMP2s. There's our leader, Kristen Eisler, trying to roll his way into a championship here in LMP2 in the Rickmotech World Challenge Series Season 3.
All right, when he crosses the stripe, we'll have just a little bit over 2.5 minutes to go. Probably over 3.5 minutes to go.
That should be 3 full laps.
3 laps.
That could be interesting if anybody didn't take on enough fuel, and that right there is the battle we're watching. Jennifer's got a pretty good draft to try and catch up to Arthur as they come down to Sunset Bend. Catch up to our GT3 Pro leader, Evan Peichel.
And we'll see if they can get by. There he goes. Chan gets by Peichel going down into turn 1, and McDonald, the little flash of the lights, and she takes the low line, gets around the BMW, but it appears to have lost a little bit of ground in the exchange there, Larry. Drops back about 3, maybe 4 more car lengths. Oh, and you can just see the sun. You see that the sun reflecting off of the canopy on the number 50 car? We know that those drivers must be having a ton of problems.
Yeah, look at that.
Going in the sunset now.
Yeah, and like you said, it's going to be even worse going into turn 17, but even here coming into 7, it's pretty bright. So Arthur through his nemesis corner there. Does a pretty good job this time, getting a good clean exit. But I think just accelerates like a rocket out of there, doesn't it?
Yeah, oh my gosh.
Oh. You know, just hard on the brakes at the 2.5 cone, looks like 2.5 marker there going into turn 10. And these cars, they're so much fun. You come up to the thing, it just bulge your eyes out of your skull when you hit the brakes, and you have to modulate the brakes just right to avoid the lockup there as the car slows down, especially at turn 7. Very tough, and that's where Arthur's had trouble. Tough to keep the front end from locking up as you take off all that speed, but he may have finally figured out that rhythm here. Jennifer's not going away, though.
No, she isn't, Larry. And as he's making his way down, now you can see as the sun, and we have this camera view looking back towards the drivers. You just see a little bit of it as they come down. There we go. Let's take a look at what Arthur's seeing as he tries to set up for the corner here. And just, I think between the sun there and the color of the concrete, it's just really hard to get your bearings and pick your points to turn in here as he comes down the front straight.
Yep, 2 laps to go for those two. And I was just going to say, we've got a battle forming here in GT3M. That is Bobby Childs in the Ferrari, followed, of course, by Julian Bell in the Porsche. And these two are just as close as Chan and McDonald are. This is for the lead at GT3M, could be for the championship at GT3M. This couldn't get any more exciting. Now look at these guys just fighting it out. Oh no, and Bobby runs wide.
Childs runs wide. That's going to give Julian Bell the advantage here as Bell moves all the way driver's right to give Childs as much time as he needs, or probably, to give Childs as much room and time as he needs to recover. But Julian Bell now takes the point. He's your leader in GT3AM in that number 52 Porsche 911.
So he came into the night 10 points down from Eduardo Lorente. Julian in third, Eduardo in first, Steve Daniel second, Bell in third. That 10 points down. Bobby Childs was just 6 points behind Bell. So right now in the order, again, I can't do math, but it's very possible that Bell, with Eduardo running back and forth, has a shot at this. Childs probably needs this win, so now he's got to work in the next 2 laps to get by. This is not going to be easy, assuming it does last 2 laps, because
Eisler is going to cross the stripe, and he gets the white flag, crosses the stripe with 1 second remaining on the clock. Larry,
that was
cannot
close.
Get any closer. So we are now on the final lap here at Sebring, the final lap of season number 3.
That means you needed it to maximize your fuel usage, because that 1 extra lap. This is about worst case scenario for anyone that tried to short fill the car. Just because that clock 3 seconds faster and the race would have been over, but instead it's 1 extra time around this long Sebring circuit. This place is not nice to fuel tanks. Everybody would have had to calculate just right. We'll see what kind of pace that Bobby Childs has here with what it clearly is a car with some minor damage. We'll see if he's got anything for Bell, or could this have decided the championship?
And a little bit further up in the field, Larry, it looks like Arthur Chan is continuing to hold on to that advantage that he has over Jennifer McDonald, still about 6 car lengths as they roll through that hairpin. And
for Arthur, the final time.
The final time, exactly. And looks like he's going to manage to hold on. So let's jump back to that GT3 battle, GT3 AM with Julian Bell and Bobby Childs. And a great view here from the tailpipe of the Porsche.
Now they'll have 1 more time to go through, as though this is their second to last time through the Sunset Bend. Bobby going to try and make some noise here down the front straightaway. Gets a good entry, but you can see that big corner slide. That did not help him.
Yeah, and again, it's all about the positioning, Larry, and seemingly every time you go through Sunset, the car acts differently. Just it's a matter of inches sometimes whether or not you catch the right bumps or you have the car just completely wash out on you. As Julian Eisler now rounds Sunset Bend, and he is going to win the final round of the World Challenge here at Sebring International Raceway, and with that win should take home the championship in Season 3. And now Arthur Chan, he enters the final turn with about a 10 car length advantage over Jennifer McDonald. He's going to bring the car home in second tonight. Jennifer McDonald going to take the last step on the GT3 podium. She's going to finish in third.
And we'll go right back to our battle. Of course, Evan Michael here, your leader in the GT3 Pro, trying to win his championship. We noted earlier that he was second in the class that he ran in the previous season by just that 1 point, trying to get over that hurdle to win the championship in his class. He's just got 1 more corner to do it. These guys are each trying to win a championship in the GT3 AM category. Bell trying to hold off Bobby Childs. They've got about a half a lap to do it as they're now rounding through the, looks like, tower curve, as Bobby's tires don't have much left, I can tell you that.
No, you can see there that Ferrari, it is scrabbling for grip right now behind the number 52 Graphite Racing Porsche of Julian Bell, as they only have a few more corners remaining. They're going to come through here, head onto the Ullman Straight, and then just 1 more corner. And once again, Bobby Childs runs wide coming onto the back straight, Larry, at just the wrong time.
I think those tires are shot. 75 minutes of this racing. I don't think there's anything left of them. And Julian Bell has just got 1 more corner, the classic Sunset Bend, to get on through to win this finale race here in GT3 AM, and then see what happens on the points. But these guys put on a heck of a show here in the finale to give it a run to try and win a championship, and all it's now just in the hands of the admins to do the math and see how it all works out. What a race. I got to tell you, what a race here in that class and with these drivers here at the 8th of 8 rounds.
That's right, Larry. All right, so we talked about LMP2 with Eisler, Chan, and McDonald, your top three. In GT3 Pro, Evan Peichel in the 263 Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing entry will take the win with Tony Kernan finishing second in the Kernan Motorsports Porsche with Travis Schwenke in the Orion Motorsports entry finishing third. And there you just saw it, taking the win in GT3 AM. Julian Bell takes the win over Bobby Childs with Russ Ruddick in the number 95 Flying Tortoise Racing Lamborghini taking home third. All right, so that's going to wind up and finish up this race here. But Larry, why don't we take a quick break, thank some of our sponsors, and when we come back, we'll talk to some of our podium finishers here at Sebring. You have just witnessed round number 8, the finale of the Ricmotech World Challenge, and we'll be right back.
Rickmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, rickmotech.com.
All right, and we're back here at Sebring International Raceway as our drivers try to get either lined up for a photo or maybe a demolition derby there. As Evan Peichels trying to get a front row seat, it looks like. Let's recap Larry here, and again, taking the win tonight here at Sebring, Christian Eisler and his Punto Cielo Racing Dallara, with Arthur Chan finishing second, Jennifer McDonald finishing in third. That's your LMP2 podium. In GT3 Pro. Oh, don't let Travis Schwenke run up right into the back of Tony Kernan there. Taking the win in GT3 Pro, Evan Peichel and his Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing BMW, with Tony Kernan finishing second in the Kernan Motorsports Porsche. Travis Schwenke coming home in third, taking the last step on the podium in his Orion Racing Porsche. And then finally in GT3 AM, the Graphite Racing Porsche of Julian Bell takes the win. Bobby Childs holding on for dear life there the last couple laps. He will bring his D2D E-Racing Ferrari home in second. Russ Ruddick, great run for Russ tonight in the Flying Tortoise Motorsports Lamborghini. He will finish in third. All right, so let's take a look here, Larry. We've got a couple folks lining up here in the green room ready to come talk to you. Let's bring in why don't we start off with, and I think it's been a couple races since we've talked to him. Let's bring in Christian Eisler, our winner tonight, our overall winner, and we believe champion in Season 3 in LMP2.
All right, we've got your overall winner tonight, and we believe your overall champion in Season 3, Rickmotech LMP2, Christian Eisler. Christian, congratulations on not only the victory in tonight's race in dominant form, but the championship here. What does this mean to you to win a championship here in this series?
Thank you. I'm really happy for the victory today and for the championship. It's a great time with all the season. So I'm really happy. Thank you.
Yeah, you have just been phenomenal all year long. I believe it ended up being 5 wins and 8 rounds, just dominant. And tonight, you had tremendous pace. Is this one of your favorite tracks?
Yes, it is one of my favorite here in racing, and I have a really good setup for my team, and I really enjoyed all the race today.
Yeah, for sure. In fact, if you're ever looking for a teammate to run any of the endurance races like the 12-hour, I'd be happy to run with you. You had just amazing pace here tonight. Just really above and beyond anybody else, and really put a stamp on it, and to win this championship going away. Is there anybody that helps you, your team, anybody you want to thank for your help to help you to get here tonight?
My team is constantly working on setups, and we train for special events. So um, this track we have a lot of practice here. So I want to thank to the administration, to the organization, to you guys for the broadcasting, the sponsors, Ricmotech and Performa. It's a great time here. I'm really happy to have the opportunity to race with these guys.
Well, it's been a pleasure to be able to call race with you in it. You're a fantastic driver. You've been just absolutely flying all year long. Well-deserved championship. So, Christian, go ahead and celebrate tonight and enjoy it. And I hope you're going to join us in the next season and see what kind of challengers can try and take you down. But you've been fast. So congratulations, and we'll hopefully see you next season.
Thank you. I will be here.
Excellent. Perfect. Can't wait to see it.
All right, there you go. That was Christian Eisler, our winner tonight in LMP2 and our Season 3 champion in the class. Congrats to Christian, and can't wait to see him running next season. All right, so Larry, why don't we now bring in Evan Peichel? He was our winner in GT3 Pro, and by my calculations, the winner by 13 points in the season championship over Tony Kernan. Evan Peichel in the Geodesic Alpine Stars 263 BMW.
Evan, so end of last season came and you were just 1 point shy in the class that you were in, but tonight you kind of put the stamp on it and checked out and won this race and this championship going away. Talk me through what you're feeling right about now.
Well, I guess you could say I'm feeling redeemed from last season. Last season I was racing not at my own computer that I usually race on. I was racing on my cousin's, so the last race I had no practice for. This race I just wanted to, this season I just wanted to be sure I was prepared for the last 2 or 3 races, and I guess it worked out.
Absolutely, yeah. I think what you're able to do, a week ago and turning that around, come right back into Sebring, and as soon as that green flag dropped, you just kind of pulled away. I'm guessing, did you even have any off courses anywhere in this track? Because you just looked absolutely inch perfect tonight.
I did not have any off tracks, but I did definitely make some mistakes in this race that I will learn from in the next one.
Yeah, it was hard to see them, I can tell you what, but of course, a good driver always knows they got to keep learning and keep pushing forward. But congratulations on tonight's win, and of course the championship here in the GT3 Pro category. A tough championship to win with such tough competitors. Is there anybody you want to thank for, or anything you want to say about this season's championship?
Well, first off, I got to thank Elvis for 1, backing out so I could win, and 2, for actually buying me the car that I won in.
Wow.
And I also want to thank my parents for making sure I can race each night that we have races on, and for parenting me. My siblings and my grandparents who are watching this race right now, I want to thank them, and all my friends and teammates and stuff who are ready to just jump in and help me whenever I need it. And I want to thank all the team sponsors, GoPro, Omologato, and all of the sponsors that help us out, because they're the real reason why we're still going as a team.
Absolutely, but it does take a quality driver behind the wheel to bring that team home to victory, and you definitely did that tonight as well as all season long. So, Evan, congratulations, and hopefully you're going to enjoy this one. Maybe crack a beer a little bit here tonight and celebrate. Hopefully be ready for next season when we get going in 2022.
Ah, yes, there will be tons of sparkling water. So you're invited if you want some.
Absolutely, I'll be right over. All right, congratulations, Evan.
All right, there you go. Evan Peichel, driver of the number 263 Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing BMW, tonight's winner from Sebring International Raceway in GT3 Pro, and your Season 3 GT3 Pro Champion. So congrats to Evan. All right, so next up, Larry, why don't we bring in Julian Bell? He was our winner tonight in GT3 AM in the number 52 Graphite Racing Porsche 911.
Might take a bit of a break.
All right, Julian Bell has joined us. And Julian, what a tremendous race tonight. You were giving it all to try and win the championship. But let's just talk about tonight's race and that battle you had coming out of the end with Bobby Childs. Walk me through those last couple laps.
Oh, that was madness. Yeah, so, he and I at the start had kind of got into a bit completely unintentionally. And, so tried to claw my way back. And then I'm not sure what happened to him. Maybe something in Sunset. But that would have been, I guess, shortly after the pit stops. And the gap went from around 6.5 to 4.7. So, suddenly there's kind of like a light at the end of the tunnel that this chase might be on. And, kept chipping. And then we had a bit of traffic, which helped me out just trying to position myself with P2s coming in certain spots and getting draft wherever I could. And then, he had Saunders in front of him pass, and then he was able to keep his draft for a bit, and I thought, oh god, like this is going to be it. I'm not going to be able to catch him because he's got a draft now. But just slowly chipped away at it, and yeah, really had to put my head down and focus on every single corner. And then yeah, he just had a little bit of a wiggle or ran wide or something out of Le Mans, enough to get on the grass, and then that was it. And just, as long as I didn't make mistakes from there, had it in the bag.
Yeah, it looked like from the viewer here that maybe his tires were starting to go away, and all that hard racing he was doing to try and build that gap might have finally gone away. And yours still looked, from our view, pretty fresh there. 75 minutes in, that Porsche looks pretty quick. Was this feeling that way behind the wheel?
No. The front tires were they were getting a little shaky, and I had to start to change my approach into some corners, especially Tower and the hairpin and turn 2. There was a couple laps where I started to understeer out and just slide a bit more. So had to bring it down an extra gear in a couple, and then just back my marker up just a little bit, so I wasn't running wide and losing a couple precious tenths or anything like that. But yeah, overall managed.
Yeah, well, it paid off. You get the victory in tonight's race in the class, and it looks like you're going to jump up into second spot in the championship. A great run for you here as this season went. Anybody you want to thank for tonight's victory or your performance in the season?
Yeah, I think my brother helped me a bit with the setup tonight, finally getting something other than just the baseline going, which was nice. So thanks to him for that. Other than that, not really. Thanks to you guys for the season, though. Really enjoyed watching these back, and the organizers for putting it on, and all the competitors on track. It was a really great season with some great racing. So looking forward to more. Hopefully, maybe next season or maybe the one after that.
Well, I hope you can join us in the next season. It's been a lot of fun to watch you progress this season, and I just can't wait to see if you can push to the front of the field and see if you can push for a championship next time out. But congrats on the win tonight, and get to go celebrate a little bit with that team and see how the next season unfolds for us.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
All right, there you go. Julian Bell finishing in the win with the win tonight here in GT3 AM and coming home second in the championship, 10 points back from our season champion, who we're going to bring into the commentary booth now. That's Eduardo Lorente, driver the number 9, Courage Motorsports Ferrari.
All right, we're joined by Eduardo Lorente. And Eduardo, I'm wondering if in there, the couple of incidents you had on the track, perhaps you were trying to calculate, can anybody pass you in the points? But before we get to that, what happened at the start? The little connection issues?
Yeah, I just had a technical issue on the grid. Just my pedals weren't responding, and it's happened before. And unfortunately, the quick solution is a hard reset. And when I rejoined, I think everyone had gotten the green flag and was in the pits for about 30 seconds while it just sort of cycled through a pit stop. And that was, I think that sort of was, kind of a summary of the rest of my night.
Well, you were fighting back pretty good. You had gotten it down to your pit stop. Your actual pit stop looked like it was reasonable, and you gotten it under 20 seconds, I think, between you up to Julian and then to Bobby. But then it kind of unfolded from there. You and Russ had quite a battle going on, and walk me through what was happening there, even though it didn't quite work out like you wanted.
Yeah, I mean, I that was I gotta watch the replay. I mean, that looked like a really that looked like a great duel. And once I
Hmm.
finally got by and I started to put a little bit of a gap, I think I had just burned up my tires just fighting with him, and it just maybe between that and fatigue, I just sort of spun it at what is it at the Le Mans curve,
Hmm.
and that was that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate. But at that point, are you in your head doing the calculation of how the points are going to play out? Did you know you might have still had it wrapped up?
I honestly thought that that was it, that it was over, that I was done. And I thought to myself, I was sort of reconciling myself to, hey, this has been fun. And, Julian and Bobby have been pushing me. I don't think I would have been, I learned a lot. That's probably the best, sort of way to sum it up. Yeah, no, just very surprised that I'm here speaking with the two of you. It's I'm blown away.
Yeah, it's one of those. You've done a pretty good consistent run across the entire season. I'm looking at the final points here. You're going to finish about 7 points ahead of Julian. So really, with those couple victories you had and just consistency, you're up into the top 2 or 3 in every single race, and that's how you bring home a championship. So a little nerve wracking here in the finale, but you're able to get it done anyway and walk away as the GT3 AM champ here for season 3 of the Rickmotech World Challenge. So for that, anybody you want to thank for helping you come along to this championship?
Of course, the series sponsors. I mean, I really appreciate it, and the administrators as well. I mean, the guys put together an amazing league. It's super professional. And then, of course, my wife for for making it possible for me to race on Monday nights, taking care of the 3 kids, and just letting Dad have a little bit of me time.
Absolutely, yeah. The crew chief at home helping to allow the driver to go out and win a couple of races definitely helps keep
You
things
got it.
going. So that's awesome. Something we can all relate to for sure. All right, Eduardo. Well, congratulations on that championship. Even though tonight may not have gone how you wanted, you still were able to wrap it up and to win that, and maybe come back and defend in the next season.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Awesome, Eduardo. Thank you.
All right, there you go. Eduardo Lorente, driver of the number 9 Courage Motorsports Ferrari. Not tonight's winner, unfortunately, but our Season 3 champion in GT3 AM. And I want to thank and congratulate all of our winners, Christian Eisler, Evan Peichel, and Eduardo Lorente on their championships this season. And Larry, as we wrap up season number 3, we've got a little bit of a birdie whispered in our ear during tonight's race to give you an update, to give us all an update on season 4, which is going to be starting in just a couple weeks. We're going to be heading back to Daytona, but much like this year, we're going to spend a little bit of time in the old country. We're going to be going to the Hockenheim ring. We're going to be going to the Hungaro ring, and we didn't go this season, but we were there in season 2. A circuit that suits this category very well, and that is Le Mans. So it's going to be great to return there. And of course, we're going to be at the Great American Stalwarts, Mid-Ohio, Watkins Glen. I mentioned Daytona already, and we're going to round out the season at Road America. So it should be a great season 4. That's going to be starting in just a few weeks. Matter of fact, why don't we bring up our upcoming schedule here, and we'll let you know when everything's happening. Next up, we're going to take a couple weeks off here, Larry, but coming back Tuesday night, not Tuesday night, Monday night, January 10th, the Classic Sprint Series. Those are our MX-5 drivers. They are going to be opening up season, I believe it is season 20, and we're going to be starting at Daytona International Speedway for their 60-minute sprint race to the checker.
You and I have both seen what those cars will do at that track in real life. Just wait till you see. You do not want to miss these cars going around that oval.
The only limitation, gearing.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. And hey, season 20 of the Classic Sprint Series doesn't get any better. Come one, come all. It's going to be a lot of fun January 10th.
There you go. And the following week, we will be at Daytona once again for season number 4, the first round of the Rickmotech World Challenge. And then finally, it's going to be a couple months off, but then in May, the Lamborghini Trophy Series will open up at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Going to continue on with that fixed setup series, 2 30-minute sprint races each and every round, and it was very exciting in season 1. Can't wait for season number 2. All right, so let's wrap things up here, Larry. Of course, we want to thank all of our great sponsors. And of course, we want you to check out ExtremeMotorsports99.com for information about the Rickmotech World Challenge for the Lamborghini Trophy Series, also for the Classic Sprint Series, and how you can join and race with us in these upcoming seasons. And of course, we want to thank the great folks with Apex Racing TV. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and give us a thumbs up there on YouTube and click on that subscribe button and click on the notification bell to find out about all the great events coming up seemingly every single day of the week from Apex Racing TV. So for Larry McLeod, for our great folks back in the production truck, Dennis Branch and Jonathan Grabowski, I'm Greg Ginsburg, and we will see you Monday night, January 10th for the Classic Sprint Series. Join us then.
Rickmotech, high-performance sim racing equipment. There's only one place to go, Rickmotech.com.